Just want to make it available for everybody, especially that today is a very special day, as I mentioned in the text. Today is in the Hasidic, in the Chabad world, it's a Yom Tov. It's a holiday. It's like that's what we dress nicely on this day. My kids wore their Shabbos clothes to school today. So today in the Hebrew calendar, it's the 19th day of the month of Kislev. What happened today? In the years in 1798, the first Chabad Rebbe, whose name was Shneir Zalman, we call him the Alter Rebbe. He's the old Rebbe. He's the first Chabad Rebbe. He lived in Liadi, and he's the one who wrote the book of the Tanya that we started to study. He was freed from jail on this day. Why was he arrested? He was accused of spreading Hasidus, which Hasidus is the deeper meanings of the Torah, the soul of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, like really what was hidden until then, and the secrets of the Torah. He was spreading them to the masses, and there were opponents of the opponents of the Hasidim. They did not like it. They felt that the world wasn't ready, that the people were too simple, or that people wouldn't appreciate it, or they wouldn't treat it with respect. All these teachings, they felt that at that time, in the 1700s, we have to understand the way that world Jewry was at that time, world Jewry, whatever, in the Russian world, there was a very big split between the Jews. There was two, sorry, someone's here. No. Yudia's here. Yeah. It was in Tsarist Russia at that time. So good morning. Hi, good morning. So there was a very big split between the Jews. You had the intellectual Jews, those who could open up the Talmud and study, and they could have great big Talmudic discussions. They were the intellectuals. And then you had the simple Jews who really couldn't study. They couldn't either afford to go to Cheder and learn, or they just didn't have the capacity to study. And they were able just to read Hebrew. They would sit in shul and they would recite Psalms. They would just pray a whole day or say Tehillim, say Psalms, but they really couldn't study. They were this simple folk. And there was a great divide between the two, that even at some point, they were even praying in two different shuls. The intellectuals were in one synagogue and the simple folk were in another. There was a very great big divide. They didn't want to mix together. And really, these simple folks, they were the ones with the true, pure hearts. They connected with Hashem with such sincerity because they understood where they were. They understood that they couldn't maybe study, but they had such a burning desire to connect with Hashem. And so the only way that they could connect through their recitations of the Tehillim, of the Psalms, or the Davening, they did with such great passion, with such great fervor, because they know that was the only way. Comes the Alter Rebbe. Actually, it started even before the Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneir Zalman, who we're speaking about today. 2 generations before was the Baal Shem Tov, the one who started the Hasidic movement. And we've spoken about him before. He brought about the Baal Shem Tov. He was the one who brought about to the world, revolutionized the world with the ideas that every single person, no matter what level of Torah learning you're on, you have a part of Hashem in you. It's called a neshama, a soul. Each Jew has a chelek elokah mima'ar mamish, a piece of Hashem inside. And everybody can connect with Hashem. The intellectuals, the non-intellectuals, we're all equal. We all have the same piece of Hashem. You're godly, you're godly, you're godly. No matter what level of observance you are on, no matter what level of intellectual capacity you're on, you're each connected with Hashem, and it doesn't matter. And the Baal Shem Tov started that. And then 2 generations later, the Alter Rebbe, he continued that teaching. He continued to spread forth that idea, but with much more strength and with much more capacity. Like he spoke about it. He wanted to teach it to everybody. And so, as I said, there were people against him, the opponents of Hasidim, who didn't like this. And they went to the government, the Russian government, and they told lies about this Alter Rebbe. They said that he wants to revolt against the Tsar. He wants to take over. He's teaching all these things his teachings are against the Tsar. And also at that time, Turkey was having war with Russia, and he said that the Alter Rebbe and his disciples are supporting Turkey because they're sending money and helping the Turkish. What do they mean? At that time, Israel was under Turkish rule. And the Alter Rebbe did start an organization, a fund called Kolel Chabad, which helps poor families in need in Israel. And he started a fund and he started to send money to poor people, Jewish families in need in Israel. And so they lied against the Alter Rebbe and said, oh, he's helping the Turks because Israel at that time was under Turkish rule. So all these lies caused the Alter Rebbe to get arrested. And it was during the month of the holiday of Sukkot when the carriage arrived outside the Alter Rebbe's house. And at first, he was how to say, like some people told the Alter Rebbe that he's going to be arrested. Like he had time to leave. Like they, how to say it? They warned him. Thank you. They warned the Alter Rebbe and it said, they're coming to arrest you. And he managed to flee through the back door. And then they came back again to arrest him. And this time the Alter Rebbe said, I'm going. He went voluntarily. He said, I'm going because I have to fight it. Because he realized that this accusation that was going on against him, that he should stop spreading this Hasidus, these secrets of Torah, he said, it's not only an accusation down here. It's not only like a physical, earthly accusation, but it's actually also an accusation that's going on above in heaven. Whatever actions, whatever things are happening down here is a reflection of what is actually also going on above in Shemayim, in heaven, with Hashem. And he said, I have to fight this accusation like in a natural way. I can't just rely on miracles and let this whole thing resolve itself. I got to fight it in a natural way, because once I resolve this in a natural way, then that accusation above will also be resolved. And then I'll be able to spread Hasidus with even greater strength, with even greater force. And so that's what happened. He went in, and they say that he was taken in a black carriage. This black carriage, the black wagon, was the wagon that was used for the highest criminals. It was to bring fear upon anyone who saw this black wagon. Whoever saw this black wagon knew that the greatest criminal was riding in that black wagon. It had no windows. And they took the Alter Rebbe to this big fortress, this prison that was in this fortress, in this black wagon. And he sat there for 52 days. And during the 52 days, many, many stories happened. They say that the souls of the previous Hasidic Rebbes, the Baal Shem Tov and his disciple, the Maggid of Mezrich, came to visit the Alter Rebbe in prison. We know that tzaddikim, holy people, are able to, of course, they have loftier visions than we do, and they're able to connect soul to soul with other holy people. And especially being a tzaddik, a righteous person, they're able to do that. And they came to visit him. His previous teachers came to visit him in prison. And he asked him, he said, why am I here? Like, does this mean that I should just stop teaching the secrets of Torah, this Hasidah? Should I just stop what I'm doing? And they said, no, you're going to fight against it. You're going to win. And you should, when you come out, you should even spread it with much more force, with much more strength. Spread it even more. As they say, there's a Hebrew saying that the Baal Shem Tov taught. He said, that your teachings, your well springs of teachings, should spread forth to the outside world, like a wellspring that just, comes from the bottom and it forces its way up and out. It should force, your teachings should be like a wellspring, and it should reach to that most furthest part of the world. And also during his stay in prison, he was visited by the governor. Let me just make sure. Yes, a government minister came to visit him in prison. He heard this great rabbi was in prison, and this minister, he was very well based in knowledge in the Torah, in the whole Torah, and all Jewish studies. And he came to the Alter Rebbe in prison, and he wanted to talk to him. And he asked the Alter Rebbe, it says in the book of Genesis, in the book of Bereshit, at the beginning, by the story of Adam and Eve, of Adam and Chava, it says, Hashem, after they sinned with the tree of knowledge that they ate from the tree of knowledge, it says that Hashem called out to the man, to Adam, and he said to him, where are you? Didn't Hashem know where Adam is? Like, why does Hashem have to ask, where are you? Hashem knows everything. What's the point of the question? Ayeka, in Hebrew it's called Ayeka, where are you? So Reb Shneur Zalman presented many different answers. And he said, number one, it was just a conversation. Hashem wanted to start conversation with Adam. Like after you do something wrong, you don't want to just like forcefully come to the person and say, what did you do? You sinned. Hashem wanted to ease into conversation with Adam and, to confront him with what he did, but in a more relaxed way. So he says, oh, Adam, where are you? What you doing? How's your day going? Sort of like that, And the minister says, I know that already. That's Rashi's commentary, Rashi that we're learning. It's like the most simple explanation. I know that, but I want to know what you have to say about that verse. So the Rebbe asked this minister, do you believe that the Torah is eternal? And he said, yes. So he was happy to hear, the Alter Rebbe was happy to hear this. And then he said, the Alter Rebbe explained, and he said, Ayeka, where are you? Is Hashem's perpetual call to every single man. Where are you in the world? What have you accomplished? You have an allotted number of days, hours, minutes in which to fulfill your mission in life. You have lived so many years, such and such amount of days, such and such amount of hours. And here, the Alter Rebbe named the exact year that, that the minister was. He named the year that he was. And he said, where are you? What have you achieved? That is the message of where are you? We always have to ask ourselves this question every day. Where am I? What have I done for all these years? I'm 45 years old, I'm 50 years old, I'm 60 years old. What have I accomplished? Where am I standing in my service of Hashem? This was the message of the Alter Rebbe, and that really blew away this minister. And so, as I said, the Alter Rebbe sat in prison for 52 days. And finally, when they came to liberate him, it was a Tuesday. The day on which he was liberated was a Tuesday. And that's the day that we say Tuesday is a very good day for anything. Why? Because on that day of creation, when God created the world on Tuesday, which is the third day of creation, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it says in the Torah, everything that was created on the day, Hashem said, Ki Tov, that it was good twice. All the other days of creation, Hashem saw what was created and he said, Ki Tov, it's good only one time. But on Tuesday, Hashem said, Ki Tov twice. It's good, meaning that day has got the power, a double blessing, double power of goodness. And so the day that the Alter Rebbe was freed was on Tuesday. And just as he was freed, what was he doing? He was actually reciting the psalm of that day. The Tehillim, the psalm is, the book of Tehillim is divided up into days of the week. Every day of the week you say different portions. It's also divided up into the days of the month, that every day of the month you say a portion of Tehillim so that by the end of the month you have completed the entire Tehillim. So like on the first day, let's say of Kislev, you say verses, 1 to 10. On the second day of Kislev, you say verses 10 to 18. It's split up like that. So it was the 19th day of Kislev. And for the 19th day of Kislev, it was either because it was Tuesday or it was because the 19th day of Kislev. No, the thing was because it was Tuesday. He was saying chapter 55, Nun Hey. He was busy saying Tehillim just as they came to take him out of jail. He was busy saying Tehillim. And the verse 55, the verse that he was saying, the exact verse that he was reciting when they came to take him out was the verse that says, Hada v'shalom nafshi. You have redeemed my soul. Because like that whole verse is talking about how he had many opponents and now Hashem has saved my soul. Just as he was saying that verse, they came to liberate him. And so there was a special nigun, a Hasidic melody composed with that chapter, with the last few verses of that chapter, starting from those words. Pada v'shalom nafshi, mikra v'li, ki v'rabim hayu emati. There's a whole beautiful Hasidic nigun, a Hasidic melody. Maybe afterwards I can play it, I can find it, that we sing on this day to remember, to commemorate, and to live with the idea that Hashem saved the Alter Rebbe, Hashem redeemed, released the Alter Rebbe on that day. And as we know, when he came out of jail, continued with his teachings, continued with spreading the wellsprings of Hasidus with much more fervor, and as we know till this day that we have it because of the Alter Rebbe's teachings, we have the beautiful, soulful secrets of the Torah. And as we studied a bit of the Tanya, and I have to say that we really studied it on a very shallow level. There's so much more depth to the Tanya compared to what we studied. I just want to share, the Tanya is such a powerful book, and just to share like 3 points, like what's the main points of the Tanya? 3 points that are the main points of the book of the Tanya. The Tanya talks about who we are, who am I, tells us about ourselves, who am I, how to become happy, how we can feel fulfilled and happy and wholesome in this crazy world, and why am I here? What's my purpose in this world? Why was I born? Now, there's so many other points within Tanya. Everybody who learns Tanya, I'm sure, can bring out many more points, but I wanted to just touch on those for a minute, because of course we can't talk about who am I. That's a whole life, class, but just a little point of what the Alter Rebbe explains, who am I, okay? And those who were in the Tanya class can maybe remember a bit of this and share whatever you remember, okay? So if you would ask somebody, who are you? If you just meet a new person, you say, who are you? They'll tell you their name, they'll tell you their profession, they'll say, whatever, I'm a teacher, I'm a psychologist, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, That's the first thing that will come to mind, right? But let me tell you, those things are not who you are, because those things can change in a minute. Those are not the real you. Who are you? You are, number one, a Jew. You are a piece of Hashem. You are godly because you have a piece of Hashem in you. You are infinite. You are awesome. You are invincible. You can do anything. You can be anything you want. And you don't need anyone to tell you who you are, that you're great, that you're amazing. Of course, compliments are nice and we should, but we don't have to rely on them. We don't need to fill ourselves and feel complete about who we are by somebody else's verification of who they think we are. We have to empower ourselves with the knowledge that I am amazing because I am a piece of Hashem. I have Hashem in me, and that's it. When I look in the mirror and I see, I gained a few pounds, I look ugly, I have these bags under my eyes because I didn't sleep for the last few nights, I'm nervous, I'm worried, I'm stressed. Yes, we all have that. Life is so challenging. There's so many, everyone has hardships that they're going through. Every single person, we all are going through hardships. But we all have the power to surpass them and to not let those things get us down, and that we shouldn't name ourselves by those, because we are so much greater than that. That's what the Alter Rebbe, the number one thing that the Alter Rebbe tells us in the Tanya. We have so much power. We are invincible. We are amazing. We have so much strength to be whoever we are. And if somebody comes and tells us something so negative about us, we have the power to say, no, I am not. I am good. I am strong. I am awesome. So that's number one. We have to strengthen ourselves with that, remembering Chelek Elokah Mimamash. We have a soul inside of us. And the second thing is how to become happy. How could we feel happy to live a purposeful, meaningful life? That is by connecting with our soul. When we feed our soul, we fill ourselves with so much happiness and liveliness and goodness. And we can, once we are filled ourselves, then we have the power to give to others. We have to first be full in order to give. We can't be an empty vessel. If we're an empty vessel, there's nothing to give to others. We have to fill our vessels up. And how is that? How do we do that? By connecting with our soul. And everyone connects with their soul in their own way. For me, I know I love learning. When I learn something, it just makes me feel happy and lighter, and I smile, and I just, even like sometimes my kids come home with homework that they need help with to translate or explain. Sometimes it's Hasidus. They learn Hasidus in school, teachings of the Rebbe or Chumash. I love learning with them. I love it. They always think like, they thank me. Thank you, mommy, for taking your time to sit with me. And I'm like, thank you. I love it. Anytime you need help, ask me. I love soulful nigunim, Hasidic melodies. I love singing that. I love it. Sometimes in the car, just play that. When things are a little down, put on the music, sing, dance. Find something that you can connect your soul to. And then, what is our purpose in life? Why were we born? Why was our soul brought down to this? As I said, it's a hard world. It's a crazy world. It's a confusing world. It's a challenging world. And what's our soul mission in this world? It is to serve Hashem. Every morning we wake up, we say, Hashem, Hineni. I am here for you, Hashem, whatever you want. What do you have in store for me, Hashem? We have to wake up with this excitement that Hashem, I am here for you. That I'm here because anything that I do, I have to have in mind that I'm doing it for Hashem. Yes, we all have, it's normal, the Alter Rebbe tells us, we all have two souls in our body. We have the animal soul and the godly soul. And because we have an animal soul, yes, we're going to have cravings and desires. We want to eat, want to see. We're physical human beings. Of course, we can't be spiritual and holy every single minute of our lives because we have this animal being. But the Alter Rebbe actually tells us, no, you could be holy every minute. How? It's just to channel every one of those physical desires that we have, or just things that we have to do to sustain ourselves to live, like eat, sleep, go on vacation, relax a little bit. You could do that. The Alter Rebbe tells us 100% do that. You must do that. But just do it with that thought that I'm doing it for Hashem. Everything, put Hashem into your life. I'm drinking my cup of coffee because I want to have energy to learn, to study Torah. I'm going to relax. I'm going to go to the beach because also I want to reinvigorate myself. I want to clear my mind so that I could, whatever it is, because afterwards I have to go to a Torah class, or I want to go be there for my friend who needs help. Everything we do is for Hashem. That's the only reason why we were created. So those are just 3 little points that the Alter Rebbe discusses. And as I said, it's a lifetime mission. It's not something that you can just get in one day. It's like dieting, you're not going to just get to your goal in dieting one day. It's a process. So the same thing with fulfilling our purpose in life. And the Alter Rebbe discusses also in the Tanya, as you remember, that there are 3 garments, the 3 garments that the Alter Rebbe discusses, that the soul, the godly soul inside of us has 3 garments. The garment of speech, thought, and action. Okay? Thought, speech, and action are the 3 garments of the soul. Just like garments, when you put on your garments, right? You express what type of person you are by the garments you wear. We could tell what type of person you are, whether it's in a professional way. Let's say policeman, he puts on a police uniform. Oh, you're a policeman. Whatever it is, a professional lawyer, they put on their suits. You're in the professional world, whatever it is. So garments represent who we are. And as I said, they're changeable, right? You can change your garment from one second to the next. You could be wearing the most gorgeous ball gown. You come home, 5 minutes later, you're in your pajamas. Change of clothes, different person, right? Garments are interchangeable. Same thing with the soul. The soul has 3 garments, as I said, speech, thought, and action. And through these 3 garments, the soul expresses itself. The way we speak, our garment of speech. A person speaks very refinedly, with beautiful language, and always has nice things to say. Oh, that's a beautiful person. A person who speaks foul language and screaming and always harassing people, you can tell what type of person they are, right? So through speech, thought, and action, our soul can express ourselves, and you can show what type of soul we have. And the idea of clothes, of garments for the souls, when we think, they're not so important, but yes, Alter Rebbe says they're very important. First of all, through the garments also, even though, yes, garments are not the main thing, but they can really influence a person. The type of garments, when I say garments, thought, speech, and action, the garments of a soul can really even change a person, because when one thinks about something for a long time and really meditates on it and processes it and everything, that can influence you. That can ultimately influence your actions, right? If you're fearful of something, if you're scared of something, you think about, let's say, whatever it is, you're petrified to go on roller coasters, or a person is petrified to get up in front of a large audience and speak. The more you think about it, the more that fear is going to come into you, and it's going to stop you. It's going to actually physically have an effect, and you can start shaking, and it's going to affect you that ultimately in your actions, you're not going to go on that roller coaster, or it's going to hinder you from going to step on that stage, right? So thoughts are so important because it can actually affect our behavior in the long run. And so all these garments, speech, thought, and action can ultimately affect who we are. They're not the most important. They are important, but they're not the most important. As I said, the most important is our essential self, our soul. That's the most important. Our garments, as I said, they reflect who you are, but they're interchangeable. They're not really you. They are important, but they are not the essence. And there's I just heard an interesting story that the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, right, who's a Jew actually, right? He's being nominated as Man of the Year, of 2022 Times, right? Time magazine is nominating him, right? Because everything that he went up to, he stood up against Russia. They thought the war was going to be a few days, but he really put in all his force. So I just heard an interesting story. How did he become president?
Well, he was an actor and a comedian.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. He was a comedian. Okay. And from being a comedian, he became the president. How? Because once he was on a show and he was acting out the government, the Ukrainian government. He was putting on a show. He himself was acting out being the president of Ukraine. And people said to him afterwards, you do a good job. You actually could be an amazing president. Why don't you become president? And he's like, what? And he yes.
Yeah.
And after that, he became one of the candidates, and he there was. So from putting on the garment of being a comedian, he was sort of faking it. He dressed himself in that garment of acting. He ultimately became the president. So garments, our thoughts, our speech, and actions are so vital in who we are. And we have to be so aware of how we speak, how we think, what we think. Now, thoughts is more complicated, like we learned in the Tanya. Our thoughts is like a constant mill. It's like a grinder. It just goes and goes and goes. We can't just take a thought out of our minds, but we could change our thoughts. That's what the Alter Rebbe tells us. Whenever we have negative thoughts and not good thoughts about ourselves, about others, we could change our thoughts to a different thoughts. And obviously the same thing with speech and action. So all these little points of the Tanya really, the more we delve into it, and of course, everyone, I even though we have stopped teaching Tanya officially in class, but I highly suggest to take the book of Tanya, continue reading it, delve into it as much as you could. There's so many classes online on Tanya. This is the book. It's like the self-help book that the Alter Rebbe wrote for the world. The Alter Rebbe said in the beginning of the book of the Tanya that the book of the Tanya has all the answers to all the questions you'll have ever about life. Can you imagine one book for the entire world? One book can answer 8 billion people's questions about life. I don't think there's ever any other self-help book that can do that,
Is it book Tanya, Natanya? What do you?
It's called the book Tanya, Tanya.
Thank you.
Go to Chabad.org. You'll see many things on Tanya. Go to the Jewish bookstore. I can, after class, I can suggest many different books with explanations of Tanya. It is the book that every single person now in this day and age really needs. As I said, it brings us, so many people are searching for meaning, for purpose. Why are we here? And things that we're going through. And the Tanya can really help every single person with that. And this is what the Alter Rebbe revolutionized the world with.
And it literally is a book.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few time. Just show you one, but which section is it on? Because I haven't seen this one show. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is a whole set of Tanya. A whole set, but this is what we, yeah. The Tanya has 5 different sections. These are 3 of them. It's called Lessons in Tanya. This is an English translation with some explanations. Wonderful, wonderful books from the Tanya. This is one in Hebrew. So,
Is that all 5 smushed
No,
into one?
right,
That's one of
right.
5.
yeah.
It's a
This
set
is
of
also
5.
one of 5, exactly.
Thank you.
Anyway, so that is why today is celebrated as a holiday, as a Yom Tov. It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus, the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year, right? We all celebrate Rosh Hashanah as the new year. Yutes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, is also celebrated as the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus because it's the beginning of when the well springs of Chassidus just forged forward with so much more vigor and strength after the Alter Rebbe came out. And as we see today, really that promise of that Mashiach is going to come when the well springs of Chassidus spread to the 4 corners of the world, to the most furthest part, and we see it happening. Think about it. The Torah is translated into so many languages, and we can access it on iPods, on the internet, on podcasts. I mean, so many classes that any person living in any part of the world. Ilana is joining us from Thailand to learn Tanya, and we're in Miami. I mean, the fact that any person in any part of the world can access Torah, there's no excuse for anyone to not study that. So really, we are living in the times of Mashiach. And so on this day, the day of Yutes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, really gives us the koyach, the strength to connect with our inner self, to connect with our soul, to really delve into who we are and to live our highest self, to live to the fullest capacity that we could serve Hashem, and that eventually it should bring about the time of Mashiach when Hashem will reveal himself in all its glory and the whole world will know the knowledge of Hashem. So that's Yutes Kislev.
Is that Rabbi Zalman?
No, so that is he is the 7th Chabad Rebbe. This is Rabbi Schneerson. Schneerson comes from the word Shneor. The first Chabad Rebbe is Shneer Zalman, and the rest of his families were called Schneerson, like the son of Shneer. So all the other descendants are Schneerson, the son of Shneer. The first Chabad Rebbe was Shneer Zalman, and then he had sons and sons and sons. They were all Hasidic Rebbes. And this Rebbe Schneerson, he is the 7th generation from the first Chabad Rebbe. His name is Rabbi Menachem Mendel, and he lived in Crown Heights in Brooklyn. And he was one also who really revolutionized the world with, he even spread even more Torah and Chassidus. He carried on the works of Reb Shneer Zalman of the first Chabad Rebbe, but in even broader way. He was broadcast on TV live whenever he had a Hasidic gathering in the early years in the 1960s, 70s. It was broadcast live on TV. And at that time also, many people were opposed to it. They said, why show TV? TV is filled with the Goyish stuff, the non-Jewish stuff. What do you mean? And the Rebbe's like, no, this is the way to get out to the world. It was broadcast all over, and there were hookups. Hookups where satellites of the Rebbe speaking as well. I grew up in South Africa, and I remember getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning. We'd go to a Chabad house, and they had a satellite of the Rebbe talking in New York, okay, because New York was a few hours behind. And we would listen to the Rebbe talking. We all got dressed in our Shabbos clothes because it was as if we were going to a Hasidic gathering of the Rebbe. And they broadcasted live to the world. We went listening to it in South Africa. So the Rebbe really brought about, and as you know, the Rebbe also revolutionized the world with the idea of sending out shluchim, of emissaries to every corner of the world. Wherever you go, there's Chabad.
And here we are.
And yes, in Little Palmetto Bay, or in Big Palmetto Bay, I should say, there's so much Torah going on over here. And in every corner of the world, there's Torah, because the Rebbe sent it out because he wanted to bring the warmth and light and joy of Torah to every single Jew. He wanted to touch the soul of every single Jew. So that is the work of the Rebbe. And even after the Rebbe passed away, the whole world was saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Chabad's going to shut down. We're going to fall apart. What we're going to do without a leader. But it has grown even more. It's grown 1,000 times more. More emissaries have gone out because the Rebbe, during his leadership, he made each person a leader. He didn't have followers, he had leaders. He taught us how to be leaders in our own right, that we can go on afterwards and lead in our own place. Every single Jew could be a leader. They say, if you know Aleph, you know the Hebrew letters of the alphabet, if you know one little letter, teach Aleph. Don't say to yourself, no, I can't, I'm too little, I'm a nothing. No, you know Aleph, you learned something today, go and teach it to your friend. You know Bet, the next letter, go teach it to your friend. Everybody can be a teacher. That's what the Rebbe created. And every person can inspire the next person to do more good and more good and more good. So that's the power of the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't allow us to rely on him to connect with Hashem. The Rebbe said, it's in each one of us. Each of you can connect and do what your part, your share of your mission in this world, and to help others as well. And once you help others, it's a ripple effect. And then the next person. There's an incredible story. I thought I'll share it with you next week because it's about Hanukkah. Beautiful story about a ripple effect of a one person receives a menorah, has a ripple effect on the next person, also takes out their menorah and their menorah. It's amazing. One good deed after the other. And so that's the power of our soul. It's because we each have our soul in it, like the Alter Rebbe said, and we should never put ourselves down and say, nah, I can't do it. I'm not so good at it, or I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna be the only one in the room. Let's say you go out to a restaurant with friends. You have a gathering, family, whatever it is. You get together with people, and you think, who's going to be interested in hearing a Torah thought? Nah, I'm not going to be the only one. I'm not going to stick out. Like the story times, say, oh, who wants to hear? Do it. Do it. That's the power of your soul. You could do it. You can influence others. You can shine your light to others. So we have 10 minutes. Can't waste time. So we are going to do 10 minutes of the book of Esther.
Is that going to be as good as this one?
Excellent, even better. We could continue. This is what a Farbrengen is. Oh, 1 second. We did not have a L'chaim. Hold on. You know what a Farbrengen is? A Farbrengen is when Jews get together and you speak words of Torah and encourage each other. You share stories or you share difficulties. And we're here to encourage each one to strengthen each other, to go on and to do good and everything, and to say L'chaim. So we can't stop that Farbrengen without saying a L'chaim. So we'll quickly pour a L'chaim, and we're going to give each other a blessing. Okay? Because today is a special day. All those on Zoom, right, starting the day with Samash, with L'chaim. It's going to be a good day. All those on Zoom can also say, sorry?
Pass it along.
Yeah, please. Smaller, too much? Okay. Whoever's on Zoom, please also say L'chaim.
Right, really?
Okay, yeah. Here, pass, pour it into here.
Is that better?
Sorry.
Nice. And this is say whatever you give and you don't have to drink it. Already I'm thinking this.
Is this too much? Okay. Okay, so I'll start and then we'll go around. So I want to give everyone a blessing that each one should recognize the tremendous potential that is in each one of you, and to not be ashamed, to not be embarrassed, to stand up, even when it's hard, and to do the right thing, and to make Hashem proud and yourself proud, and to let your neshama shine, just like the menorah. Each one of us have a soul, which is like a shining menorah inside of us. And Hashem should bless each one of you with everything that you need, in abundance, in full measure, with good health, and with true happiness from inside, not to rely on others to make us happy, but really true happiness should find our path that makes us happy, and to be able to share our light with others. And that we should see Mashiach right now.
You too.
Amen.
Anyone else wants to share l'chaim? A blessing.
I got one. This is how we can bless ourselves and share with others the 5 steps of wisdom. First is silence. Then you listen. Then you remember. Then you practice. And you teach. That's it.
Super.
Very good. Yeah. I like that. Repeat that again. Silence.
Silence,
Mhm,
listen,
mhm.
remember, practice, and teach.
That's good. Yeah, it teaches, to stop and think.
Silence.
And as a retired teacher, I'm trying to think that I do all those things.
Uh-huh. As a what teacher?
As a retired teacher,
Ah.
I do all those things.
Right. I'm not going to Esther today. We're going to, and next week, actually, we're also going to do Hanukkah. Next week, we're going to have class. Please God, it's going to be during Hanukkah. We're going to learn about Hanukkah. And then the next week, we will continue with Esther.